Hey everyone, what's going on? This video I'm going to talk about multiple different topics, but they're all things that have to do with synchronicity that has been going on in my life and things that I have been talking about from previous years and how the central themes that I was talking about really seem to be important to this year. So I just wanted to make a video in regards to that and just talk about some of these things that have happened to me in the past week or so. And if you're new to this channel, what I talk a lot about is signs, symbolism, and how our mainstream media is always themed. There's themes and they're scripted by what is called gematria, which is the practice of coding numbers into words and phrases. And I'll leave some links in the description. You can go and check them videos out and learn to apply this for yourself, because when you learn to apply this, you will see that it truly exists all around us. We live in some type of, matrix, some type of code, some type of patterns in nature. It's all around us, and I'm positive there are people who are ruling over us who understand this knowledge, and they've been using it to manipulate our minds and keep us enslaved. And why they don't do anything, we go to work every day and we get just a tiny bit of freedom, to feel like we still exist and we still have a purpose, but they're really manipulating this whole planet. And we just need to take this world back. We need to bring the, whatever you want to call it, the harmony back to the world, so we can have a more positive world that is going on. And we truly do not have that right now. So just earlier tonight, I got off work around 5 or so, and I had a bunch of other stuff I had to do, and I later had to go back to my job and pick up my girlfriend's brother, who also works there, and he wanted a ride home, but when I got there, he didn't want to ride home. He wanted to go to another kid in town that he's friends with or something. And so I dropped him off, and well, it was really odd. I dropped him off, and he opened up the door, and he was getting out, and as he was shutting the door, there was this crazy crackling noise. It almost sounded like static on the radio when the radio's not on the right station. It's like in between. It sounded like there was some type of weird static noise. It didn't necessarily sound like a speaker cracking. It was like a weird, I don't know how to explain it. It was like a weird static crackling sound, and it was really loud, and I was like, what in the world was that, And I thought maybe, like, my girlfriend had the car earlier, and I thought maybe somehow the radio was messed up. But when I looked at the radio was on volume 0. Like, the radio wasn't even turned up at all. It was on volume 0. And I thought, that is strange. What was that crackling noise that I heard when he shut the door? And it wasn't the door squeaking. It was something to do with the radio. That's what it sounded like. It was absolutely not the door squeaking. And I was like, weird. And I looked at the radio, to turn it up, and that's when I realized it wasn't even on, but it still had the time up on the radio, and it said 9:11. And it was actually 10:11 because I never reset the time when the time change happened. So it said 9:11 though, and I thought, interesting. And I looked at the song that it said was playing, and it said Selena Gomez, whatever the song is here, Back to You. And I thought, all right, I'm going to go home and look this song up. So I come home, and the first thing I do is I sit down and I go to Wikipedia and I type in this song, and I noticed that it came out on May 10th of this year. May 10th. That is a huge date and a huge number that I have recently been talking about in regards to North Korea, Donald Trump, and how it's intertwined with the JFK assassination and basketball. The word basketball equals 5'10". That's why Dennis Rodman is really important to all the North Korea stuff. Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un, that's how you pronounce it, I guess, Kim Jong-un, they announced they were meeting on May 10th, 5'10", the same day this song came out. And Donald Trump's, or Kim Jong-un's brother was assassinated in Malaysia, which was really close to where these guys are meeting, and his birthday was May 10th. The word Korea equals 510, and Moon Jae-in, the president of South Korea, became the president on 510, and the JFK assassination is 5 months and 10 days after June 12th, this day that they're meeting on, and John Kennedy equals 510. So this huge number that I've been talking about, 510, and I get this weird crackling noise, and I look up the song that was playing, and of course it comes out on 510. What are the odds, you know? And so I looked up Selena Gomez and Gematria, and right away when I saw some of these numbers, I knew that it was all synced up to Pope Francis just from studying this. You know, Selena Gomez equals the exact same thing as Pope Francis. And Pope Francis, it's all interrelated. The Jesuits, the Freemasons, the royal family, they're all intertwined, even though they want you to think that they're separate, you know. They want you to think that if you're a Catholic, you can't be a Freemason. But yet if you look up old pictures, you can find Pope Francis doing the Freemasonic hidden hand pose, and he's the leader of the Catholic Church. So they're all intertwined. I've showed a whole bunch of stuff that even goes clear back to Henry VIII. It's all synced up by the numbers, where the Jesuits and the royal family and, you know, the Catholic Church, they're all still intertwined, and they're all connected through gematria. So anyway, as I was writing up this blog post here, the TV, literally the TV made the same noise, and I have no idea what it was or why it did this. All we have is Netflix and Hulu right now, and my daughter was watching Rugrats, and the TV made this weird crackling noise, like the video sounded like it was skipping, but it wasn't, and it made this weird crackling noise. And I even rewound the video, and it did it again, so it's obviously something to do with the file. But it was weird. It made a very identical noise to what I had heard in my car just, you know, minutes before, and I came home and started writing up this blog post. And what's interesting about this is that when I typed out Rugrats in Gematria, Rugrats equaled 510 in reverse Sumerian, and in regular Sumerian, it equaled 624. And I'll leave a link in the description. But this number, I made a whole video on recently because this number was really important to Pope Francis. And it was also important to King Charles, or I keep saying King Charles, but Prince Charles, who will become King Charles if Queen Elizabeth dies. So I'm like, what are the odds here? We got 510 that's connected to all this Donald Trump, JFK, basketball, North Korea stuff, and then 624. You know, this other number that is super important lately. And I don't know. You know, it's just some weird synchronicity. And I kept watching this TV show, and Angelica, the 3-year-old girl, basically what they were doing on this, they were showing home movies, so the little babies wanted to go up and draw pictures and make their own home movies. And Angelica started it, and Angelica drew herself, and then she said something about, and I have a crown. And then the other baby was like, but you don't have a crown. And then Angelica started arguing with her about having a crown, right? So Angelica's like, it's my story and I can have a crown in the story, blah, 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 blah. There was emphasis on the crown, right? And I've been talking about how crown is really important. Like Stephen King and Stephen Curry and Steve Kerr and Stephen Hawking. The word Stephen means crown, so that there's this big thing that is all connected to the royal symbolism. We just had Justify win the Triple Crown, and somebody pointed out to me that the popes used to wear the Triple Crown. There was a crown, a tiara that they wore. It was a Triple Crown. The last pope to wear it was the pope that JFK met 144 days before he was assassinated. And remember, Donald Trump met the Pope on the 144th day of the year in 2017. So then I kept watching the episode a little bit more, and all the other kids started drawing pictures and whatnot. And I think it was Chucky, who was, you know, his real name's Charles even, right? Chucky Pretty sure his real name's Charles. I can't think of his last name. But just think about that in regards to Prince Charles. And Angelica says, if that's Tommy, then I'm the Queen of English, right? They were doing a joke as the Queen of England. She says, if that's Tommy, I'm the Queen of English, right? So once again, you know they're doing some type of royal symbolism in this episode. What are the odds that it makes this weird crackling noise, just that the same noise that is made in my car just minutes before coming home, you know? And I also thought it was interesting that this is the picture Angelica drew of herself, I think. Or maybe it was her mom. But just look at it. It looks like the pyramid with the sun, you know, the illuminated sun here above the pyramid, a lot like our dollar bill, you know. Supposedly this is supposed to represent Sirius, the dog star, you know. So, I don't know, just interesting. It looks a lot like a pyramid and a sun. And also, remember Chucky wears the Saturn shirt in every episode. He has the shirt with the planet Saturn on it, and Saturn's really important to all this as well, you know, especially in regards to Hermeticism and alchemy, because the sun is the gold and Saturn is the lead. So, you know, moral of the story, it's just super interesting. Like these weird synchronicity things with these big numbers that I have recently been mentioning. Also, I was trying to think of something with Selena Gomez, because I honestly don't know hardly anything about Selena Gomez other than she was dating Justin Bieber, or possibly still is. I don't even know. All I know is they have that connection with Justin Bieber, and Justin Bieber has interesting gematria because it syncs up with King Charles and also King Charles III. And there was, on this episode of Rugrats, there was also a two-part episode. And the second part was about this evil toy clown that Tommy's dad builds, and then all the kids are scared of it, right? And just think about that in regards to Stephen King and the new movie It coming out, and LeBron James dressing up as It. LeBron is King James. He's a Cavalier. A Cavalier is a follower of King Charles during the English Civil War. And, you know, King Charles was the son of King James. And then he loses to Stephen. And Stefan means crown. So it's just mind-blowing, you know? What are the odds that stuff like this happens? And I'm losing my train of thought here. I was going to say something about Stephen King. Some more about Stephen King. Oh, the 11/22, you know, James Franco, he's in that movie about trying to assassinate Kim Jong-un. And then he's also in 11/22/63, which is all about the JFK assassination. So, you know, it's just crazy weird. And like I said, 624 is this big number, big date that I was talking about, connected to Pope Francis, Prince Charles. I'll leave a link in the description, but you know, it's the 175th day. Pope Francis equals 175, and so on. Also, Prince Charles and Pope Francis have a connection together in Jewish gematria. They both equal 404, just like Make America Great Again, you know. And Pope Francis arrived in the United States in 2015 at 4:04 p.m. and it was 404 years after the King James Bible came out. And there's 404 verses in Revelation, so super important number. I think Queen Camilla even equals 404 in Jewish gematria, which would be Prince Charles's wife. I don't know even know if she'd become a queen, but just interesting if she does. Queen Camilla equals 404. So another thing that happened, the other day I was at work, and for whatever reason, the song The Sign by Ace of Base came into my head. I don't know if it was playing at some point during the day, or if it was playing. I don't think it was playing. It just randomly came to my head. I'm pretty sure, and it's just so odd. Like this weird song from the the 90s or whatever that people make fun of. It randomly comes to my head, and I started thinking about the lyrics, and I was like, dude, that song is totally about spiritual ascension. You know, they want you to think that it's about her and her boyfriend or something, but really, if you look at the words and just think about what she is singing about, she's totally talking about, seeing signs and symbolism and understanding there's more to life and being enlightened, and it's all about spiritual ascension. I got a new life. You would hardly recognize me. You know what I mean? And then, you know, I saw the sign. It opened up my eyes. I saw the sign. Life is demanding without understanding. I mean, come on. No one's gonna drag you up to get into the light where you belong. But where do you belong? The song is completely about spiritual ascension, and I mean, there's tons of other songs that do that. There's tons of them. How many songs have the one eye symbolism, and Lady Gaga even does the rah rah whatever, because represents the Ra, right? The falcon, the eye of the falcon. So Lady Gaga even says rah rah la 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 la, and she does that. So I mean, so it was just, I don't know, it was just kind of mind blowing because I just never really thought about that song before, and I randomly think of it, and then I realized that this whole song is about spiritual ascension and seeing the signs. And I mean, if you don't believe me, just let's go look at this video really quick. So to show you, there's the Egyptian Ankh, all the way through the video. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like a central theme. And they also have another album, their latest album that came out is called The Golden Ratio, right? So these people know what's up. These people understand this and how it is connected to this whole world. They have a way better understanding than people like me who are just trying to figure all this out without ever being told anything. But let's just watch this video. I mean, right? Look, it's just unbelievable that there's so many things in regards to Egyptians and all of these things that go on in music videos, and yet people still just think that it's all a joke. They like, why would they do all of this? Why would they do this in Donald Duck cartoons? Why would they have Donald Duck math magic? Because they've been showing us forever, and people I mean, I hate to say it, but people are just too not awake, I guess. I'm not going to say too dumb, but, people are just really blind to what is truly going on in the world, and you're not going to convince anybody because for whatever reason, I don't get it. I don't get how you could watch all of these music videos your whole life and see all of this symbolism that is going on and then say that it means nothing. Oh, they just did it because they like the Egyptians. Anyway, I'm sure if you're this far into the video, you completely understand what I'm saying, so it's irrelevant to whine on about it. But what else I was thinking in regards to Ace of Base was something that Zenith of the Alpha was talking about too, and in regards to the card stuff, right? And Kate Spade just dying, Donald Trump, and then all the king and queen symbolism, and Jack Kennedy. I don't know, just interesting. It's an ace, right? Like a card, Ace of Base. So I pointed that out. And I was looking at their other albums. Like I said, they had their newest one was called The Golden Ratio. And they also have one called The Bridge, which is something that has been really important. I've been talking a lot about the bridge symbolism and how it's really connected to Pope Francis, right? Even the word pontiff means bridge builder, and the number 81 is really important with him. He's born 81 days after the Jesuit anniversary. He turned 81 years old even, and he's the first Jesuit pope. And, the Minnesota bridge collapse, that happened on 8/1. It fell 81 feet, and the main trusses were 81 meters long. Took him 81 minutes to transport everyone to the hospital. And the Golden Gate Bridge, is 80. It was open for 81 years this year. Golden Gate Bridge equals 81. And the frontwards and the reverse way. It's a big, important number to bridge symbolism. And it's also intertwined with all of the kneeling during the national anthem stuff. And, you know, Donald Trump's birthday is on Flag Day. And he called out the NFL on 23/9, the 52nd prime that was synced up to the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, right? The 52nd prime number, 239. Supposedly the flag was sewn at 239 Arch Street 239 years before Donald Trump's birthday in 2000. It was 2016, just before he became the president, and it was still 239 years when he became the president, right? So 239. Then they even say he weighs 239 pounds at his physical. Just ridiculous. And I've been saying how everything was synced up to the year 2015 with Pope Francis's important visit on 23/9, and that was also the 239th year of the United States. So, and in regards to San Francisco, and San Francisco being important to the kneeling during the national anthem, that's where the Golden Gate is. And the Golden Gate is where the Jews believe the Messiah will return through, and Golden Gate equals 239 in Gematria. And just the word gold equals 81 in Jewish Gematria, right? So the Golden Gate Bridge, really, really important. And the reason that I bring all of this up is because whenever I think of the song, The Sign by Ace of Base, for whatever the reason, it reminds me of the TV show Full House that is set in San Francisco, because Stephanie, which is interesting, Stephanie, the female version of Stephen, right, which means crown, but Stephanie has a band called, I think it's called Girl Talk, and remember Uncle Hermes, or Uncle Jesse, but his real name's Hermes, right? Once again, reminding us of gold. Hermes and the, whatever, he's the golden boy. It's all about where Hermeticism stems back to, and it's just so funny just thinking about how it all perfectly fits like that. But anyway, so Stephanie sings that song, and her manager is Uncle Jesse or Hermes, and she gets mad at him, and then they don't practice, and they do terrible when they go to play it on TV, or they go to play it live. So just interesting that I would put that connection together. And I looked up the episode. It was the 186th episode of Full House, and Ace of Base just so happens to equal 186 in Gematria. And think about Full House in regards to cards. A full house, right? So, and what else is really interesting, and why another reason I brought all of this story up is the day before, or a few days before I even noticed all of this, I was talking about how Dave Grohl reenacted his fall from 2015 when he fell off the stage in Gothenburg, Sweden. And then he reenacted it this year, once again, reminding us of something of 2015. But that was in Gothenburg, Sweden, and that's exactly where Ace of Base is actually founded out of, Gothenburg, Sweden. So, you know, just interesting. I would even bring up Dave Grohl, and then I randomly think of this song by Ace of Base, and then I find out they're from Gothenburg, Sweden. I mean, here, I'll even show you how far away the posts were. Yeah, 2 posts after, you know what I mean, on my blog here. And there's a whole lot of stuff that is going on with all of this. When Dave Grohl broke his leg, he wasn't able to perform at Glastonbury. And then Kanye West ended up being the performer. And Kanye West came and he sang Bohemian Rhapsody, the Queen song, or also the Freddie song, the Freddie Mercury song. And Mercury, once again, has the ties back to Hermes. The equivalent, Mercury and Hermes, Freddie Mercury, but this was just after Freddie Gray had died. That was all synced up to the Civil War symbolism. And Kanye West, right, is married to Kim Kardashian, and then this was just the day after Obama legalized gay marriage, and and then Bruce Jenner earlier in the month had posed on Vanity Fair and came out as transgender, right? Think about the connection of Bruce Jenner to the Kardashians, and then Kanye singing this Queen song the day after gay marriage is legalized, and Freddie Mercury was in Queen, who was the gay band, right? And then Kanye West even connected Taylor Swift through the VMAs, and they even called her the Queen of the VMAs in 2016, I think. And, just think about her one song called Bad Blood, right? Think about what Freddie Mercury died of, Bad Blood. And it was synced up to the Paris attacks and a bunch more. But I'll get to why Glastonbury is important in a second, because I really think it has something to do with why we got the death of this guy from Fleetwood Mac, and because of their song called Rhiannon. And Rhiannon is the Lady of the Lake that gave King Arthur Excalibur, and Excalibur was forged in Glastonbury, right? So there's still this king symbolism going on. It's absolutely nuts. But the same day gay marriage was legalized, Obama sang Amazing Grace at Clementa Pinckney's funeral, if you recall. And that was after the Charleston church shooting of the kid who was supposedly Dylan Stormroof. What a name. He was born on 4/3, Civil War equals 43 in Gematria. Abraham Lincoln born on the 43rd day and died 4 years, 3 days after the Civil War began, and so on, So that was interesting, but Obama did this 9 days after 9 people were shot, and what I was talking about back then was that if Obama dies or gets assassinated, he would be the 9th president to do so, and he would also be 9 presidents after JFK, a lot like a 99, and the first president to die in office was also William Henry Harrison, the 9th president, and Abraham Lincoln died 9 hours and 9 minutes after being shot. There was a lot of 99 stuff. Even Queen Elizabeth in 2015 became the longest reigning British English monarch on 9/9 of 2015. So lots and lots of 999. It's even Adam Sandler's birthday, and Adam Sandler is synced up to Philadelphia, where the Fresh Prince is from, right? And reminding us of Prince Charles and so on. Also, the Freddie Gray stuff was, like I said, super important to the Civil War. He got injured on the day the Civil War began in history, and then he died on the day that the first death of the Civil War happened in history, April 12th and then April 19th. And he died in Baltimore, where the first death of the Civil War was. And remember, the Civil War began in Charleston. Think about the Charleston church shooting a little bit later that year. And Charleston equals 43, just like Civil War. And what I pointed out way back then was that the Confederates wore different shades of gray uniforms because they couldn't afford to dye their uniforms. And this was the same year we got the movie 50 Shades of Grey coming out, and then they killed off Dr. McDreamy on Grey's Anatomy, and it was also the year of the Grey's Sports Almanac and Back to the Future, and Freddie Gray was also synced up to A Nightmare on Elm Street with Freddy Krueger, right? Freddy's dead. And on the very first Freddy Krueger movie, the first person to die, her name is Tina Gray. And the reason they were synced up is because Freddie Gray died on April 19th, which is the day that leaves, it was the 109th day of the year. And the film Freddy's Dead came out on 13/9, which is the day that leaves 109 days in the year. So they're like reflection days. I believe it's the 256th day of the year, and then the day Freddie Gray dies, the day that leaves 256 days in the year as well. So they had this connection, and even the movie Drop Dead Fred came out on April 19th, the same day Freddie Gray died. And I talked about all of this, and then we got the death of Wes Craven later that year, on the same day as the VMAs, when Kanye West had controversy again, and they called Taylor Swift the queen of the VMAs, and Kanye West said he was going to run for president in 2020. But just before Wes Craven died, we had the tropical storm and hurricane Fred and Erica. And if you look up Freddie Gray, he had a twin sister named Fred Erica. And that's what the tropical storms were even named. And then Wes Craven died the same day as the VMAs of all days for him to die, you know? Wes Craven, the guy who made the Freddy Krueger movies, if you're not aware. Even after the Glastonbury thing, we had Kanye West said that he was the greatest living rock star of all time, and then Corey Taylor of Slipknot, the band that has the song Gematria, the killing name, even, and their bassist had died, though. His name was Paul Gray, right? And they even have a CD called The Gray Chapter. So it was synced up to this gray symbolism. I wouldn't doubt if we see something in the news in regards to Slipknot or Corey Taylor in the next couple months or so. Because, I mean, everything just seemingly keeps coming back up from 2015. And I know it's all over the place, and I'm sorry, but I talked a lot about earthquakes in San Francisco and Philadelphia. And there's something really important to the Comcast Center in regards to bridge collapse and earthquake symbolism. And I never noticed before, but when I re-looked it up, the Comcast Center is located on JFK Boulevard, you know? So something I've been talking about this year. The whole thing with Dave Grohl falling, there was a big falling theme over the summer of 2015. Dave Grohl fell. This guy named Kyle Jean-Baptiste, he fell off the balcony at a hotel or apartment or something, and he died. And the stock market fell in August, and there was a Braves fan that fell over the balcony, and a drone that fell into one of the tennis games. And September 23rd, the big day with Pope Francis, was the first day of fall. And then we even got that story on September 30th of my aunt's brother, who's, I don't know him at all, I'm not related to him, but my aunt's brother made it on CNN. He was a principal at a school in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and he supposedly got shot by a kid named Mason Buell, right? A lot like Mason and Bull, or even Mason Bull, like symbol, right? And it was absolutely by the numbers. Even the street the school was located on, I think it was 273rd Street on the 273rd day of the year. Sioux Falls, South Dakota equals 273. I mean, I can't even remember it all, but once again, there was a falling theme, and, you know, I've never known anyone in my entire life to make it on CNN, and my aunt's brother just so happened to supposedly get shot, which I don't know how true that is, you know. Makes me wonder. Makes me wonder, you know, if he knows a lot more than he lets everybody else know. But anyway, I also pointed out that year that Kanye West equals 1551 in Jewish gematria. And, you know, side note, Kanye West was just on Family Feud. Family Feud equals 51. Steve Harvey equals 51. Kanye West equals 51. But in Jewish equals 1551. And I said Donald Trump was 15 years, 51 days older than Barack Obama. And Pope Francis turned 15 years old in the year 51. Queen Elizabeth II became 51 years, or became the Queen 51 years, 15 days after Queen Victoria died. And Queen Victoria is the one she surpassed for longest reigning monarch. And, well, I'll just keep reading it. The video's long enough. The day that gay marriage was legalized was also important to Pope Francis because it can be written as 26/6, and he's the 266th Pope, and the day that he went to the White House was the 266th day of the year. But if you went from, so that was on 9/23 or also 23/9. But if you do it backwards, 3/2/9, if you go from March 29th, 3/2/9 to 6/26, it was a span of 89 days, and if you go from 626 to 923, it was also 89 days. So, I don't know. It was the exact halfway point between two special days, synced up to 923. And in regards to that, I wrote King James equal to 89. Can't remember if Queen Elizabeth was 89 years old or 88. I think she was 88 at that time. No, I don't remember. Hold on, let me think about it. Yeah, she was 89 years old in 2015 as well. And that's why Taylor Swift's album, 1989, was really important. And that's the same year as the Earthquake World Series that I've been talking about on my blog here. So there's something really important to it. 1989 World Series. The movie Field of Dreams came out on Queen Elizabeth's birthday in the year 89, and he takes Terrence Mann to the Red Sox game, and the Red Sox are playing the Oakland Athletics, who won the World Series in 1989, and they beat the San Francisco Giants, and what he sees when he goes to that game, it comes up and it says Moonlight Graham or Archibald Graham, 1922 New York Giants, right? And 1922 was a same city series. It was the New York Giants versus the New York Yankees. I believe it was the New York Yankees, but it was New York versus New York in 1922, and then the Giants later turned into San Francisco, and then we got a same World Series in 1989, the same year that Field of Dreams came out. So it was absolutely showing us, the Oakland A's versus the New York Giants in the World Series. The movie's even 107 minutes long. Earthquake equals 107. And in regards to Queen Elizabeth possibly dying, King Charles equals 107 in gematria. Which is why I think that in the basketball game this year, the first of game 1 of the NBA Finals went to overtime, 107 to 107. But back to it. King James equals 89. Pope Francis arrived in America at 404. Pope Francis equals 404. Argentina, where he's from, equals 404. King James equals 404. Prince Charles equals 404. All these 404s I mentioned earlier. Pope Francis also, his 1,189th day of being the Pope, was on Donald Trump's birthday in 2016, just before his national convention in Cleveland, where he played We Are the Champions. 88 days after Queen Elizabeth's birthday, Elizabeth equals 88, Trump equals 88. The Queen song, yet again. Kevin Durant equals 1,189, the finals MVP this year. So yeah, there's a lot going on here. There's absolutely a whole lot of stuff going on. This death of this Fleetwood Mac guy, I mean, he died age 68 on 6/8. He died at Brixton, London, that equals 68. And he joined the band in the year 68. And remember, Pope Francis equals 68. John Trump equals 68. Barack Obama equals 68. Prince Charles equals 68. 68, a really important number to 9/11 symbolism as well. Kanye West, I believe, even equals, maybe not Kanye West. Yeah, Kanye West, I think, equals 68. 48. Who equals 68? There's another person that equals 68 that's been really important lately. Can't think of who it is. Someone equals 68 in reverse reduced, but oh, it'll come to me maybe later if I think about it. There's another important person that equals 68 in gematria. But there's something to it. Like, in 2015, what I documented was I just did a bunch of research in regards to the Glastonbury thing, and I noticed that Glastonbury is where it says the Excalibur, King Arthur's stone. Excalibur isn't the sword that he. Oh man, Excalibur is the sword that King Arthur got from the Lady of the Lake, but the sword that he pulled from the stone is supposedly different. But Excalibur was forged in Glastonbury, which I think means it was just made there. I don't know if he pulled the sword out of the stone in Glastonbury or not, and I cannot find it for the life of me. So, it'd be way more interesting if he pulled the sword out of the stone in Glastonbury as well. But I'm not for sure what the word forged completely means. I feel like it means it was just created there. But I talked about Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood Mac clear back then because there was a bunch of stuff connected to Rihanna in regards to horses, and horses have been really important again with the Triple Crown winner. But Fleetwood Mac has a song called Rhiannon, if that's how you even pronounce it. And when you look this Rhiannon up, you find out it's the Lady of the Lake who gave King Arthur Excalibur. And I was thinking about Stevie Nicks once again, Stephanie, the crown. And I also talked about how on the Zelda 64 game, the Ocarina of Time, he rides around on the horse called Epona, which has parallels or is the equivalent to Rhiannon, right? The horse named Epona, and what he does is he pulls the sword out of the stone on that video game in order to travel back and forth through time, right? So all about time travel, just interesting. And just funny, recently my daughter's been really into this Netflix series called Troll Hunter, and it's about this kid who he's the troll hunter and he gets this amulet, and it's supposedly the magic comes from Merlin, and he says something like the by the power of Merlin I command or something, and he turns into like a knight or whatever. So I just thought it was interesting in regards to documenting all of this, and I really feel like this guy died just for me to re-look up that information. Like that's something that was important to why this guy died, was because it was something I was talking about in 2015 in regards to the band that he was in and how it's connected to the king symbolism. So possibly nothing, but it is very interesting to me, and I just feel like there's a reason that this guy died. I feel like I was supposed to re-look up this information. So oh, I can't remember. There was one last thing I was going to talk about. I thought it was this other thing that happened to me this afternoon or it was actually this morning, probably like 11 or so at work. I was I was at work like just cutting up onions or something, and the other lady, one of the other ladies that I work with, was moving some stuff, and she's always kind of, I don't know, she's a nice lady, but she, I don't know, she gets kind of crabby sometimes and gets like frustrated easy. And she looked at the other girl and said something about, oh, if you build it, they will come. And I like just stopped. I was like, what? If you build it, they will come. And she was referring to Field of Dreams, right? And like 10 minutes later, I was like, I have to ask her, like, is that how she truly remembers it? And I was like, earlier you said, if you build it, they will come. And I was like, you're talking about Field of Dreams, right? And she's like, yeah. And I said, is that how you really remember they say that? If you build it, they will come? And she's like, yeah, that's what he says. That's what they say in the movie. And I was like, but I totally remember it as if you build it, he will come, right? I mean, that is my exact memory. He will come, because they were talking about his dad who will eventually come back, right, in the movie. So, I've talked about the Mandela effect before. Like, it's just, I totally experience it, but in order to prove it, maybe it's just some memory thing. I don't know. I don't fully grasp what is going on with the Mandela effect. And I feel like there's a lot of people who are really exaggerating it and making it look crazier than it really should be. But, you know, Mandela effect equals 95, and Nelson Mandela supposedly died at age 95, I think. So whatever. It's absolutely by the numbers. But moral of the story, it made me start thinking about the Mandela effect And what's interesting is the last time that I think I mentioned the Mandela effect on my blog, I mentioned it in regards to Donald Trump and Queen. Because Donald Trump came out to We Are the Champions, and whatever it was, I went back and listened to the song, and I noticed at the end of the song they don't say of the world anymore. And that's I looked that up, and that's a Mandela effect thing too. People remember people remember the song saying of the world at the very end, but now it's seemingly you can't find any versions that do that. So it was just another Mandela effect thing. And once again, it's connected to Donald Trump and the Queen. So I just thought that was interesting that it would even come to my brain and my coworker would randomly mention it. And she said it like really out of context. It really didn't make sense for her to say that, like what in regards to what she was even talking about. Can't remember what it was, but it didn't make that much sense for her to say, if you build it, they will come. And for the life of me, I do not remember it as they will come. Maybe it's, I haven't even went back and rewatched the movie. Maybe they say both in the movie, and maybe that's what a lot of people are getting confused by. I don't really know, but I just always remember it as he will come. So I just thought that's what the whole point of it all was bringing back up Field of Dreams again, was because I had this weird synchronicity, not really synchronicity, but it brought back memories of the Mandela effect stuff, and it was involved with Queen that I talked about on my blog with Donald Trump and the Queen. So, huh. Oh, I'm gonna leave it there. My battery's about dead. I'm gonna go charge it, and I'm gonna make a video about horse racing and Rob Gronkowski betting on his $69 on his horse because it's absolutely they're like rubbing it into your face. So, have a good one. Peace. Actually, I forgot one more synchronicity video that I wanted to talk about. The on Must have been June 6th. I looked up the story. I just saw the story about Trump commuting Alice Johnson, and just a bunch of weird stuff had happened. So I got up and I looked at the story, and she was a 63-year-old lady. And I was thinking Trump had pardoned Jack Johnson, and now we're getting Alice Johnson being pardoned. There's something to do with Johnson, right? And when I went to yahoo.com to look up this lady's birthday to see like how many days away from her birthday it was, right when I went to Yahoo, it like went to like a phishing page, and like all red web page came up, and it started downloading a whole bunch of files on the bottom of my screen, and I ended up closing out of it, and I went back and I opened up a new browser, and it did the same thing. Every time I went to Yahoo, it kept downloading this file over and over, and I was like, what is going on? And I'll just show you here, like, here's some of the files that it was downloaded. I went and I found all of them and I deleted them, so hopefully my computer's good, but I don't understand why yahoo.com, like a secure, website, it would do that. I didn't click on any ads. It was from yahoo.com. So that kept happening, and in the mix of it, when it happened, I was getting pissed off, right? And my girlfriend was sitting over here on the couch, and I was like, what is going on, And my girlfriend's like, what's the matter? And I was like, I don't even know. And then I was trying to figure it out, and I kind of was not talking to her, but I was trying to figure it out, and I was like, I don't even know. And when I went to look at these files in my download folder, the first thing that comes up is I don't even know, right? What are the odds of that? Like, I just tell my girlfriend, I don't even know. And that's the only thing I said. And then I look, and the first file was I don't even know. And it was funny because I don't even know in Gematria is 63 and also 63 in reverse. And before all this happened, I was looking at the 63-year-old Alice Johnson being pardoned. And so I restarted my computer, and then when I opened up my computer, it opened up Internet Explorer, which I never use because it goes so slow, and it opened it up to this, showing me a bridge. I don't know what it was, the Sydney Harbor Bridge. And it's on the front page, like they changed my thing when I log in. So somehow I must have clicked on it and then it automatically opened it. But I mean, I'm pretty sure all I did was click on my login thing and type in my password. So it shouldn't even have did that. But possibly it's somehow I clicked on it and it opened. But still interesting, it brings up a bridge, right? And the bridge symbolism. And before I before Yahoo, like Yahoo would load for like a second or two, and then it would automatically take me to that page, and then it would start downloading that file. Before it did, the top story on Yahoo was this right here. Jazz Jennings to undergo uh, gender transformation or whatever. And I was like, that's interesting because I had documented about this person a long time ago, and I knew jazz equaled 63 and trans equals 63, and they called it the bottom surgery that equals 63, male to female equals 63, and the virus was a phishing virus, and if you spell phishing out, it equals 63, and if you write out 63, it equals 63, and the big way it equals 153, and think about fishing in regards to the miraculous catch of 153 fish that Jesus caught, right? And I was like, just how interesting. All of these 63s that are going on. And I even started thinking about it. Jack Johnson and Alice Johnson. Think about it. A Johnson, right? Your wiener. And then this boy or whatever is gonna go get his wiener taken off. So I was just like, what are the odds of all this, you know? Craziness. So in the mix of it, I found out that transgendered equals 510 in satanic, and also 53 and 125. And North Korea equals 53, 125. Alice Johnson equals 53, 125. And like, 510, Korea equals 510, basketball 510, Kim Jong-un and Trump announced their meeting on 510, and so on, right? So just interesting, that 510 number. And it also says that this Jazz is getting the surgery on June 26th, the anniversary of gay marriage being legalized. And if you write out, I don't even know, it equals 626 in satanic gematria. You know, like weird. Weird that that would even happen. And we got the story, I pointed out we got the story on 6-4 about the gay marriage wedding cake as well. And Alice Johnson equals 64. The word transgender in reverse reduced also equals 64. And what I talked about in my old post with this jazz person was I was talking about Caitlyn on The Real World, who was like a popular transgender person way before Caitlyn Bruce Jenner, right? Caitlyn on The Real World. Just interesting they both had the name Caitlyn. And that girl's name, Caitlyn Cusinelli, is 63 in Gematria. And in regards to bridge symbolism, MTV came out on 8/1 of the year 81. And it was all because they changed their award from Moon Man to Moon Person. So I mean just think about how all of this syncs up. It's just craziness. And even the first episode of The Real World that Caitlyn was on was called Brooklyn Bridging. And Brooklyn and bridging was really important to stuff I was talking about with Chris Christie and Bridgegate, right? So I don't know. It's just mind blowing. And I think 2016 I talked about Michelle Obama and how there's all these people on YouTube saying Michelle Obama's a tranny. And I talked about it around the time of the College World Series. And, her birthday is January 17th. The word bridge equals 117. And she's now 54 years old. And in that video where I talked about her being a transgender, I talked all about the number 54 and 63 in regards to transgenders. Even there was a story about an Amtrak near Trinidad, Colorado, and if you look up Trinidad, Colorado, you find out it was the sex change capital of the world. And South Park even makes fun of it. But if you go there, you find out the one of the main doctors was Dr. Stanley Biber, who was born on 5/4, and he started working at that hospital in the year 54. And his protege, after he died, was a former patient whose name was Marcy Bowers, that equals 54. And this was when Coastal Carolina was in the College World Series. Coastal Carolina equals 54. Baseball equals 54. And Obama was 54 years old at the time of me talking about that. And there was all this Prince Charles symbolism that year. Or Charles and English Civil War stuff. Coastal Carolina was in the College World Series. Then we had the Cavaliers win the NBA Finals, and the Cavalier was a follower of King Charles during the English Civil War. The Carolinas are named after, in honor of King Charles, right? The Carolinas named after King Charles. Cavalier, a follower of King Charles. So we had Coastal Carolina in the College World Series. The Cavs win the NBA Finals. The Carolina Panthers lost in the Super Bowl. North Carolina lost in the College Basketball Championship. And I pointed out transgendered equals 134, like King Charles III. And remember, Joan Rivers was the one who called out Michelle Obama being a tranny, and Joan Rivers equals 68, and she was born on 6/8, that big number. Prince Charles, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, they all have gematria of 68. And then Barbara Bush, born on 6/8 and dying this year, and it's synced up to 9/11 symbolism, which goes clear back to the very beginning of this video where when I looked at the radio, it said 9/11 even. So, just mind blowing, you know. Thinking about the Super Bowl too, and Philadelphia winning the Super Bowl, and I talked about the Fresh Prince connections to Prince Charles. So, just lots and lots of weird synchronicity things that happen to me every single day, and it is very hard to explain to somebody who doesn't experience it themselves. So, that's why I try to make other videos too that don't involve synchronicity constantly, but the synchronicity is always there. It's absolutely every single day I experience it. So, and it's multiple times a day. The oddest things happen. Saying I don't even know that equals 63 while looking at a story about a 63-year-old, and then the first article that comes up is about all of these other 63s. If only I could figure out what it all means, you know? So, but, okay, I'm truly done. Have a good one. Peace.